Well, one, we're just concerned about the enrollment, and two, we saw that you dedicated your new building, so with enrollment down, yet you got a new building, so how are you going to sustain this program and this college?
I can start. Good morning, Senators. We did indeed open the new building last month. Thank you, Senator Kelly, for joining us on that day. It was a very good day. I think the new building will actually help with enrollment, because being able to market a facility that has been built for the pharmacy program, one of the things that was really notable to me about that day were the number of the pharmacy students who were going around taking selfies of themselves in the building, because they've been in portable facilities this whole time. And so having a proper building, I think, will help us recruit. One of the things that I was going to talk about today is the enrollment, because the enrollment has gone down. Our entering class this year was substantially lower than the ones before, as you know. There has been an explosion of pharmacy programs across the U.S. In California alone, they have doubled the number of pharmacy schools in the last 20 years. And I believe it's something like 5 in the last decade. And that, of course, California is one of the places where we often recruit students for all of our programs at the University of Hawaii. So that's been an issue. In 25 years, the number of pharmacy schools has grown by 70% across the country. So the terrain has gotten more competitive. So we have put increased effort into marketing. We have started marketing in areas that will connect better to students, social media, for example, Zoom meetings, excuse me, with students on the mainland. And we are also reaching out to students who are at undergraduate institutions and high schools to get them interested in pharmacy, talk to them about those careers, and really kind of put our program on a map that more students will want to apply and be part of it. At the same time, we're trying to be somewhat realistic here, and we may not go back to those days where we were having 85 or 90 students in a cohort, just because there are so many pharmacy programs now. So we've also been doing some work to think about how we're going to right-size the program. We are talking to experts in the field across the country, working with our faculty, and thinking about what is the appropriate size for the college, trimming the budget accordingly to get to so revenue and expenses stay in balance. We can go into more detail, but that's the overview. The other thing we're doing is taking a hard look at the curriculum, to update the curriculum, make it even more relevant. We have some niche areas that I think we excel at. One is rural healthcare on Hawaii Island, obviously. That is a great concern. And the other is integrated healthcare. So you'll find that our pharmacists work hand in hand with nurses, doctors. We work with the medical school. We work with the cancer center. Because anymore when we're being treated for illness, everyone plays a role. And so we're training our pharmacy students to do that, and that is a hallmark of the program.
Thank you. I'm really happy to hear you're looking at right-sizing the program. I think that's something that we need to do across the board in all campuses, not just in the pharmacy school, but across with enrollment. I think we've talked about that the last time we were here. But it brings me back to how the university makes decisions as to what kind of programs we're going to offer, what kind of investments we're going to place into these programs. Because, as you said, there have been an explosion of pharmacy schools. Now, we should have anticipated that before we, decide we're going to put in all this money, all this time, all this effort into a program that's going to get, at some point, instead of looking into the real future, what is going to be the new jobs of the new century. But we had a knee-jerk reaction. We had a shortage of pharmacists, and so we go ahead and put the school, yet other colleges across the country were doing the same thing. So, I mean, those kinds of forecasting is so important when we're going to put in the kind of funding. And then, you get a new building, and yes, it's nice to have a new building, but I doubt that just having a new building is going to attract a student to Hilo, to...
It will help. It won't be the cure for everything,
right,
absolutely.
But then that's huge amount of monies that was expended for a program that's now seeing, what are you, 50% less in... or
The
100%?
incoming class this year was about a third less than the ones before.
But what was in relationship to the goal? What was the overall goal for the college? How many enrollment? What was that?
I don't know that do we have a specific goal?
I'm Carolyn. I'm the dean of the Daniel Kano College of Pharmacy. We typically would have a class of about 70. This year we admitted a class of 50. And it's not that we have a goal. We need to have definitely qualified applicants. And so if we don't have the applicant...
Right, but you had to size your school. What did you size your school to?
70, yeah.
But you said realistically 80 to 90 students, so I'm sure...
Well, so historically, because there was a shortage of pharmacists across the state and the nation, the early years of the college, we admitted a much larger sized class in order to fill those shortages, and as did every other school across the country. And with that, and with the explosion of schools, certainly jobs and the more traditional jobs have been filled across the country and in the state. And so most programs at this juncture are right-sizing back to the job market. And the profession in general is cyclical and usually cycles with decades. So usually every 10 years, you'll see a dip in job opportunities, as with most health professions.
Okay, so the college in this new building is built to have a maximum of 70 students, or a goal of 70 students?
It could fill as many as 90, but typically we would want to fill no more than 70 at this point.
You should have projected this, because when a school starts up, you know it's coming up. So if California, it doesn't happen overnight. Right. So you've had years of knowledge that these schools are coming up. So to say that you guys weren't aware that, they're going to be a competition, to me is not an accurate statement.
Well, no, I would believe we were aware. We didn't know what its impact would be on us, because we didn't really see that strong an impact until this last year. So we were holding our own. I mean, I think the college started doing more marketing. They were more intentional in what they were doing, and we were holding on to our enrollments despite the explosion. Should we have looked in the crystal ball and know it was going to hit us eventually? Probably yes.
Yeah. Not so much a crystal ball, but I think the whole country is seeing, and we're talking about enrollment, that
right.
population is down,
right.
Migration coming in is down, people are not having children, people are learning online, and so there's all of these indications. Right. And so to not be aware of these indications and say, well, we're holding our own, well, yeah, a recession hits you, in a year, it's going to come. You just got to start to...
Well, and professional schools, the way enrollment works there is a little bit different than the campus as a whole. And so it's sometimes easier and sometimes harder to predict what's going to happen in a professional program, because particularly with a program like pharmacy, it is a program that people interested in healthcare who maybe don't want to be doctors and nurses, it's a very attractive profession, right. And so I think we were maybe unrealistically hopeful that those numbers were going to stay where they were.
And you have to consider, not everybody want to go to Hilo. Come on, a lot of people love it. It's paradise, but there's a lot of people who don't want to go to Hilo. I'm sorry, right? That's the give and take. So, but those are factors. It's like not everybody wants to live in a rural area, so we can't keep doctors and lawyers and in rural areas.
And you're talking to someone who believes exactly the opposite. It's like, I'm so thankful I don't live in the city. Right?
But I'm just saying,
yes,
there's a built-in factor there that you can't ignore. You've got to consider that as we go forward.
What we are trying to do at this moment is make the best of the situation that we have. Mm-hmm. And many of those decisions, all of those decisions obviously were made before my time. Yeah. Some of them were made before Dean Ma's time. Right. And so what we're doing now is trying to, as I said at the beginning, right size, really figure out what we need moving forward